All right. So in this video, I'm going to explain how 3 years of my life I held myself back from achieving the results that I have now because of one simple thing that I didn't understand, and it took me over 2 years to actually figure this out. And I want to help you figure this out way sooner, so you can avoid making this mistake on your own and achieve the results that I've been able to achieve way faster. So just to give you some background info, I'm 21 years old right now. My name is Alex. I'm from Sweden. What I'm doing right now is I'm working online. I'm able to be remote. I'm able to set my own hours, and I make over 10K per month doing it. 3 years ago, I was living in Sweden with my parents. Saw people online making like all this money and like traveling, and like I wanted to achieve that lifestyle like really bad. So I was looking around and like trying to figure out like what can I do to make this happen. Ended up finding some guy that I resonated with, invested into his course to like learn how to start a marketing agency at SMA, committed to that. And the mindset that I was coming into it with was like, because I knew ever since I was young, ever since I was like 10, 15 years old, like I always had this mindset like I'm not gonna work for someone else. I'm gonna take a different path in my life. I'm gonna work for myself. I'm gonna achieve these big goals. I remember when I was on vacation with my family when I was a small kid, I would always be looking at these different yachts and like these huge boats and like these mansions that we would go by. And I would think to myself, like, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna have those things, and I'm not gonna be like the normal person that's like settling for being average, and I'm gonna achieve bigger things. I'm gonna do bigger things in my life, and I'm gonna achieve these results that most people feel like isn't possible for them to get. I'm gonna be the person who actually gets it. So to kind of rewind, like that was like the mindset that I was coming into it with. Like I knew I was meant to do something greater and not just go into a 9 to 5. So at this point when I was 18, I was just looking around at different opportunities, like how can I actually make this happen? Like what do I need to do? And like how do I start taking action steps? Because I read a book before from Richard Portad, read a book, and then I was kind of like, I had a fire in my ass to like figure it out, you know? So what I ended up doing is I invested in some coaching, got into marketing agency, and like committed to that, you know? I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna make this work. And I'm going to build this into the business that's going to allow me to make 10K per month, 100K per month, and get to a point where we can do all the things that I want to do and have the freedom and travel and support my family and be able to have this kind of like this lifestyle that I was describing before, where I have the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. So I was committed to that, you know. I was putting in 12 or 14-hour days, like committing to the agency, you know, cold calling prospects, cold emailing, reaching out to people, taking demo calls, and like doing everything I can to figure it out, running ads. And like I was struggling with that for a long time, where I was getting all these clients that I was signing up. I wasn't able to get results for the clients. I didn't end up getting any money from the agency at all because I was doing these like performance-based deals and I didn't know how to actually get results. I didn't get any money from it. And I did it for around almost 2 years, where I was like committed to making the agency work. I didn't give up. I kept pushing, and I made some money from it, but like I wasn't able to scale it. I think my top month I made like 8K, and then the profit from that was like 4K basically. And that was with me working pretty much like 12 hours per day. So I was like making like a minimum wage pretty much at the end of the day. So I was doing that, and I was looking around, and I realized like I saw other people. I saw some of my friends in this same space were doing something else that's called closing, where you're basically working for a business that you're just a salesperson for a company or online business. And my mindset around that was like, I was so set that I was gonna have my own business. I was gonna work for myself. I'm not gonna be an employee. I'm not gonna work for anyone else. That I ended up holding myself back from doing what I really should have done way sooner. Because I ended up doing, I saw other people in that space. I saw people making like 10, 20, 30K per month with it. So way more than I was making. Having the freedom, having all those things that I wanted, without having to run their own business, without having to deal with clients, and without having to have all the overhead that I was dealing with. So I saw people doing that, but I had my ego holding me back because I was like, I'm going to do my own business, I'm going to figure this out, I'm not going to work for anyone else. So I kept grinding, and I stayed in that way longer than I should have, where I was trying to figure it out on my own. Wasn't able to humble myself enough to actually get into that. And it was like a couple of months went by, I kept doing that, was still not able to figure it out. I hopped from different niches to niches, and like had shiny object syndrome, couldn't figure it out. And then eventually it got to a point where I hopped on a call with someone, because I was like, I need to figure this out, you know, like money was running short, and like I wanted to leave home because I was getting a bit older. I was living at home with my parents, and I was like, I had to find a way to figure this out. And I've been doing this for 2 years now with the agency. Like this has to be something else I can do to like get these goals I have faster. And like there has to be something, because I've basically been doing it for 2 years and hadn't really seen any progress at all with the agency. So what I ended up doing at that point is I got on a call with someone who was doing this, someone who was a remote closer working for a business, making around like 15, 20K per month. And the guy's name was Eli, and he's one of my good friends now. And what I ended up doing on that call is we hopped on the call, and I was able to understand like how the model works. I didn't end up actually buying that because I was still like dead set on like figuring out my agency. But then it started like kind of shifting my mindset. So I started looking for roles in this space and like trying to figure it out on my own. And I ended up reaching out to a company, landed a role for a business that was doing like Airbnb coaching, teaching people how to make money from Airbnb. So I was able to land a role with a business. I started working for them, had my agency going at the same time while I was working with the company. And dude, I was shit, man. I didn't know what I was doing. So I would come into that company, I didn't know how to close, I didn't get results. So like I was in that role, but I eventually ended up getting fired and I got demoted to like a setter role where I booked calls for them instead, because I wasn't able to get results and actually close the people I was speaking with. Ended up doing that. I got a good amount of experience doing that for 6 months with that company. And during that time, I ended up actually shutting down my agency because I realized I was making more money selling for this company than I was doing with the agency, because I was making like between 4 to 6K per month selling for that business, and that was pure profit for me. Did that, and then 6 months later, I ended up realizing I was like, I want to scale further. You know, I want to become a closer. I want to make 10, 20K per month. I want to be able to actually push myself to get there. So I ended up investing a lot of money into a coaching program. Went through the program, put in the work, showed up, and then coming out of that, I was able to get into a closing position where I scaled that from first month, I made around 4K. And now, around 1.5 years later, I'm doing over 10K per month working with that business. So that's my journey, long story short. And basically what the biggest thing it comes down to is like me shifting my mindset and realizing that the path to get to the long-term goals I have, in terms of being able to have my own business, have that control, have the time freedom, and achieve all the goals I want to achieve, the fastest and the most efficient path to get there is to humble myself. Not think that I'm better than I am, and not trying to start an entire business from scratch. It's instead focusing on skill sets. Getting into business, learning from business owners that are already successful, building capital, building skills, stacking skills. So for example, right now I'm doing sales. When I got into a point where I feel comfortable with sales, where I feel like I master it, I'm going to start focusing on marketing, and then stacking different skills on top of each other, which is then going to set me up to, when I get to the point in the future where I want to start my own business, I'm going to have the skill sets required to make that very successful very, very fast, because I built this different skill set and like acquire the skills and learn of how successful companies operate from the inside, which then gonna set me up to have a very quick and like fast success with the business, instead of now trying to start it right away without experience, and just trying to figure it out with no experience, no knowledge really doing it. So that's my plan doing this. I'm gonna set that up. I'm gonna keep doing sales for the next 1 to 2 years, master this skill set, get really good at it, and at the same time I'm gonna start applying marketing by doing these kind of videos that I'm doing right now, and starting implementing and learning the skills of doing marketing. And then my long-term plan with all of this is to slowly start my own business where I can have like all these different aspects of freedom: financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. So that's my story about this.